Hi everyone, it is Atia. Welcome back to my channel, Booking It with Atia. Today we're going to talk about my January highlights. This is going to take the place of my traditional wrap-ups that I was doing. And I'm trying something new this year with wrap-ups to make them a lot more fun for me and also less exhausting, which should also help me do these more consistently. It's like, I read a lot, y'all. I read a lot, and sometimes a book is just good or not good or meh, and I don't have a lot of thoughts about it. I just, and so to force myself to talk about books that I don't have a lot of thoughts about was just nonsensical and didn't make sense. I'm just going to continuously hit my money tree. There we go. So yeah, I'll still list all the books, both verbally and also on the screen, that I read, but I'm only going to be discussing the highlights. So surprises, favorites, books I keep thinking about, and maybe disappointments depending on the month and also just depending on like the book itself. And if there's a book that I read that isn't highlighted, then you're always more than welcome to drop a comment down below asking me like further thoughts about it, and yeah, I will respond to that. But I'm hoping that this will help me just get back into wrapping up what I read. And also, I miss talking about books like this. Like, I like my vlogs. I want to get better at putting out recommendation videos. I don't even know the last time I did a recommendation video, but I miss talking about books that I read the previous month, and this way I'm able to do it in a way that benefits me as well, if that makes sense. So let's dive into everything that I read. I'll be listing the title, the author if I can recall it, and then also the star rating for the book. Starting with Leah Park and the Heavenly Heirlooms, which I gave 4 stars. The Vanquishers series, I gave those books 5 stars and 4.5 stars for the last 2 books. Lunar Boy, which I gave 4.5 stars, and Academy for Liars, which I gave 4.25 stars, MFK, which I gave 2.5 stars, The Chainbreakers, 3.5 stars, Team Chew and the Valley of Blackwood Arena, 4 stars, Blood Jade by Julia V. and Ken Babel, 4.25 stars, Drown Me with Dreams by Gabby Burton, 3.75 stars, Immortal Dark by Tygus Girma, 5 stars, When Mimi Went Missing, 4.25 stars, Dominoes, Danzone, and Death, 4 stars, Heist Royale, 4 stars, The Night of Baba Yaga, 3.75 stars, Looking for Smoke, 4 stars, All That Is Secret, 4 stars, They Bloom at Night, 3.75 stars, Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney, 5 stars, No Filter and Other Lies by Crystal Maldonado, 4 stars, Rani Chowdhury Must Die by Adiba Jagadar, 4 stars, The Davenports, More Than This by Crystal Marquise, 4.5 stars, Lunar Love, 4.25 stars, Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jagadar, 4.25 stars, I Think I Might Love You by Christina C. Jones, 5 stars, Brownstone, 4.5 stars, Black Eyed Peas and Hoghead Cheese, Tomatoes for Neela, Being Hospitable, 5 stars. And then I DNF'd a reread of That Self-Same Metal. I DNF'd it at 60%, but I do plan on continuing in the series. I just realized that I didn't need to finish the reread. In terms of manga, I read Kaiju number 8, volumes 5 and 6, Akane Banashi, volumes 8 and 9, Food Wars, volumes 28 through 31, Cat Plus Gamer, volume 4, Blue Period, volume 15, A Sign of Affection, volume 7, and Insomniacs After School, volume 4. Editing Atia here. Realized that I forgot to mention two other volumes, which were Comey Can't Communicate, Volume 31, and Yona of the Dawn, Volume 42. And in terms of stats, I read a total of 4,934 pages and 69.43 hours in the month of January. 5 of those reads were arcs or gifts from publishers or authors. 12 of the books had queer rep. Everything was BIPOC, as usual. I read 17 manga and graphic novels. 2 were picture books. 2 of the books were indie published. 4 were from my owned backlist TBR, so books that I already owned prior to 2024. And 14 of my reads were from my January hopefuls list, which was really nice. Now to get into my highlights, I only have 6 books that I'm highlighting in the month. Starting with An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. So this one is a dark academia, like gothic fantasy where we have our main character, and of course her name escapes me, just exited my brain. But our main character, she is invited to this hidden school where you're getting a degree in the ancient magic of persuasion, and a lot of things are going down and happening, and it's very dark and just like gritty. And I DNF'd her first work, The Year of the Witching, a couple years ago, so I was a bit worried going into this one, but I was deeply intrigued by the premise of it, and I was pleasantly surprised with this book. It definitely succeeds in the dark academia vibes, and it kept me guessing and always unsure of what was happening or what could happen next. It went in directions that I just did not anticipate. And like I said, it was an interesting premise that immediately had me intrigued, and it keeps up that intrigue throughout the entirety of the book. It definitely had the possibility of being convoluted or confusing, but the way in which Henderson does it, it's clear, it's thorough, but it's also engaging at the same time. And it was a wild ride, y'all. It was a wild ride. I'd also definitely reread it because it just has such a high rereadability for me. And I ended up giving that one 4.25 stars. Next up, we have Immortal Dark. Oh, this one here. This one follows Keaton, who knows about the existence of vampires. Specifically, we're in a world where these vampires are based in East Africa. They are of East African descent. We're talking black vampires. This is not just sparkly, darkly vampires, right? And she is on a mission to find her twin sister, who was kidnapped by a vampire, and she believes taken to this illustrious school where you study how vampires and humans coexist in the modern world. And she is taken to inherit this house on this campus, and she has to make it through all these classes. So another one where it definitely has like dark academia vibes, but it has vampires, and it has a romance, and it was just, this book was so good. This book was so good, and it's truly infuriating in the best way possible. The slow burn between Keaton and Susenyos, and also just the prose, the writing was beautifully done, and it's fast-paced, it's exciting. You don't know where you're going, you don't know what's happening next, and the plot is just like dangerous, and it did what it needed to do. I'm looking forward to the sequel, if you couldn't tell. It's twisty and it's unexpected. Definitely several WTF moments that had me like just constantly on my toes. And Keaton as a protagonist is twisty, and she's complex, and she's morally gray. Just incredible. And Susenyos, who is the vampire, and her like kind of love interest, they like hate each other for most of the book, but he's hilarious, but also brooding and lethal, and the balance that was struck between him being hilarious, brooding, and lethal was just chef's kiss. Great. The ending is both a cliffhanger but also super satisfying, and I really loved it. I did. I gave it 5 stars if you couldn't tell. Next up, we have a YA thriller, When Mimi Went Missing. So we follow a main character who is currently living with her aunt and her cousin. Her parents passed. Was it in... Yeah, her parents have passed. She's living with her aunt and her cousin goes missing, and you know, the police are like, oh, she probably just like ran away, or like, you know, but the girl, she's like, no, I don't think that's actually what happened, and she is trying to figure out and solve the mystery of what happened to her cousin. It's a thrilling ride. Oh my goodness, this is a thrilling ride, but it has an unreliable narrator, so you truly don't know what to believe and what not to believe. It keeps you guessing all the way up until the very end, and I enjoyed this dark and off-kilter feeling of this thriller, and I would definitely read more from this author. And I gave When Mimi Went Missing 4.25 stars. Next up, we have Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney. This one follows... I forgot her name. I know it starts with an M. I forgot her name, but she's a girl. She is the daughter of the town pastor, preacher, and she is in a 2-year relationship with her current boyfriend. They have tried having sex in the past and it's not working, and so she thinks that something's wrong with her body, and he ends up suggesting a break so that she can figure out what's going on with her body, and she has no one to turn to. And basically, this is her discovering about herself and also discovering how to have friendships outside of this relationship, how to navigate the unrealistic and constraining rules of her parents, especially her... I'm not even gonna say especially her mom, because both of her parents are equally restraining. They just do it in different ways. She gets along better with her father, and she has a very tense relationship with her mother. I loved how this interrogated the double standard between girls and boys when it comes to bodily autonomy, when it comes to sex ed and sexual health, and how teaching girls to fear and be ashamed of our bodies and their body's desires is the exact thing that hurts them and that leaves them unprotected, uneducated, and misinformed. And that misinformation and ignorance is passed down through the generations, and it just cycles. And I would recommend this to every teen, especially every Black teen, because it interrogates it so well, especially within our own community. And I gave this one 5 stars. Next up, we have The Davenports, More Than This. This is the sequel to The Davenports. And so this one takes place in the 1910s. It follows the events of the Davenports, which I guess a brief synopsis of book 1 follows 3 siblings of this prominent Black family. And the 3 siblings are, well, I forgot their name, but it follows the 3 siblings and the best friend of one of them, and the best friend is also a maid of one of them, and also the best friend who's from another prominent family. So you're following 5 Black teens during this time, and it's all about them learning to reclaim their power, but also falling in love and figuring out how to fall in love and how to navigate that. I thought that this was an excellent and beautiful continuation of the plot lines that were introduced in the first book, and the sequel actually, I would say, does a better job of equally balancing everyone's stories and keeping the pace. And there's also Black feminist themes woven throughout that I really appreciated, and I ended up giving The Davenports, More Than This 4.5 stars. The last book that I'm going to highlight is I Think I Might Love You by Christina C. Jones. This one is a hilarious novella. We follow a woman who ends up, after like a drunken rampage against her ex, ends up entering her sister's apartment because she has a key, and finds this naked man there, and just is like, how dare you, get out, and everything. He's like, I'm leasing this place from your sister. And It's actually quite hilarious, their first meeting, because he's like, she's unhinged, and she's like, you shouldn't be here. But basically, and so she has like this just very long-standing history with the court, and she ends up being assigned like 400 hours or 4,000 hours of community service. And she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go and I'm going to volunteer. Well, it's really volunteering, but I want to volunteer my time at this vet. And she goes, and it turns out that he is one of the veterinarians that works at the vet, and that is the beginning of that dynamic. And it felt like a very full story, but bite-sized. And I want to read more of this novella series because I think there's at least 2 or 3 more stories or books in this series, and I gave I Think I Might Love You 5 stars. Yeah, that's the highlights of January. In terms of what I'm currently reading right now, I'm currently reading I guess I can just get the physical books. That's a lot of work. I'm not going to do it. I'm currently reading Go Tell on the Mountain by James Baldwin, as well as Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. This is actually a reread for me. I am vlogging my process of rereading the first 2 books in this series and reading the 3rd and final book in that series, so just keep that in the back of your mind. And I'm also reading Black Girls Breathing by Jasmine Mans. This book is tearing me apart, y'all, in the best way possible. I'm doing a buddy read with some mutuals. We're reading Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. And then I'm trying to finish up Winnie Zhang Unleashes a Legend by Kat Zhao, as well as Start the Library Game by Gigi Pandian. I don't know. I wrote that on the list thinking that I had already started it, but it'll be started today. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below if you want to hear my thoughts on any of the other books that I read in the month of January. Let me know also, what was your favorite or most surprising read in January? Do we have any books that we read in common? Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, make sure you have the bell turned on so you're notified every time I upload new content or go live for reading sprints and various other events that will be coming up. Make sure to check out my socials as well as my new blog, my Substack, which is of course linked down below. Check out my Penguin Book storefront where you can get great condition, excellent, like new condition books for a fraction of the price. You're literally shopping my shelves, and I will see you all in another video. Bye. I ain't living for the moment. See what's mine and I want it. Hungry like a Pac-Man, like Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm Naruto with a Hanzo, got a sharp mind like I'm Einstein. I'm copywriting, so it's all mine. Check it for me, I'm in the sky.